Mike, I got to update my NCAA bracket here. How did Pittsburgh do?
Lost.
Okay. Villanova.
They're a ghost.
They're out already.
They're done.
Temple.
History.
Kansas, the number 1 team overall.
Forget about them.
Kansas, Temple, Pittsburgh, Villanova.
You're done, Starkey.
my
That's what you're
bracket.
telling me. That's what you're telling me. And you used the visual aid to tell me.
I left it hanging. It was like Northern Iowa did.
That was more like Cornell. Yeah, that was a very good, fundamentally sound stroke you showed.
What's
there.
going on in this tournament? Why all these upsets, Mike?
Well, I think there's been a couple things. I think, number one, the Big East is a fraud. I think the Big East was ridiculously overrated, and I think it was overrated mostly because we watched them beat up on each other, and we were more impressed with the name on the jersey than the actual basketball that we were seeing. It's hard to separate out reputation from reality. It really is for everybody, even somebody who tries to be conscious of that, like me, like I try to. It's hard to do. And the other thing is, I think some teams play a style of play that's very hard for people to play against now. I think we've gotten so far away from the sort of motion offense model that you can think back to maybe like Bobby Knight in Indiana in the 70s, where you have 5 players working together, cutting and screening and moving
Cornell,
to create shots. That's Cornell.
Iowa.
That's Northern Iowa. Teams like that, I think. People don't play like that anymore. People are used to not having to defend that anymore. It's all dribble, drive and kick kind of thing.
Okay, so take out Georgetown. Was the rest of this just matchups with the Big East, or is there more to it?
Well, give me an example of what would have been a matchup. I think Villanova should have lost to Robert Morris. I think the refs helped them. I mean, I can't say that's a matchup.
St. Mary's.
St. Mary's is a good team. St. Mary's is a legitimately good team. But still, Villanova is not what we thought they were.
Okay.
I mean, no way.
Pittsburgh and Xavier.
Pittsburgh is a team that I think we generally thought overachieved all year.
Right.
I think they're very young. They're going to be good. I like their program. Pittsburgh did okay. Pittsburgh is not really an illustration of what we're talking about.
I'm not going to go through them all, but the bottom line is you think it's more than just the matchups. There wasn't just Marquette got a bad matchup in the first round. You think there was more to this, that maybe it's the media that hypes this up a little bit as well, that they were such a good conference.
Dick Vitale said, believe it or not, I'm going to give him credit.
He
said something that really impressed me on Thursday in the studio for ESPN.
I just vomited a little bit.
He said, I'm sorry, big guy, I hate to put you through that, but he said that here we are, all winners, sitting up here in Bristol, Connecticut. So he was kind of biting the hand that feeds him a little bit, ESPN, and we're hyping the Big East, and maybe we're a little myopic here. Maybe we're not seeing the big picture enough, and the Big East is sort of connected with the northeastern United States sort of media colossus, and I think that's part of what went on here.
There is something with the seeding. You and Gordy Jones last week when we did our videos talked a little bit about that these seedings, there was less controversy this year with who didn't get in and who got in as much as where some of these seedings are. And I think I did play a factor with some of the upsets. Bear in mind, we're going to bring up Cornell again. Cornell doesn't look like they should have been a 12th seed.
Certainly not.
Villanova probably shouldn't have been a 2nd seed, probably should have been back for Temple to 5. Everybody thought that was good until you see how they played against Cornell. So there's some matchups out here that I think help to add to the upsets. Butler, Baylor, some of these teams out here, where do you fit them in? Is that because Carolina, Arizona, and some of these bigger schools are down this year, and that brings some of these teams to better seeds? New Mexico is a 3rd seed, but they're playing pretty well.
New Mexico has 3 losses. I mean, you can't
not normally a 3rd seed.
Had a pretty good resume, sure. But I think based on what they did during the season, I think it was pretty merited.
Okay, who's impressing you right now?
I think Kentucky's been the most impressive team so far.
I didn't expect that.
I'm not really a fan of that. And this is going to be a wonderful game on this week with the 3rd round game between Cornell and Kentucky. I mean, just a culture clash,
sure.
a college basketball team that actually has college students as opposed to these apprentice NBA kids, and so that'll be really interesting. But I also think Syracuse has been terrific so far, kind of as expected. Duke has been very, very solid. A team that I was greatly impressed with over the weekend was Kansas State. really, really quick and athletic. They look like they're going 150 miles an hour, but they're making plays at that speed.
Right.
So I think they're kind of tough. They're going to be a tough out for somebody.
If Michigan State can get past Northern Iowa, I like them against the winner of Tennessee and Ohio State. They've got some experience. They could actually slide into the Final Four.
And that guy can really coach, Tom Izzo.